Half my marketing is wasted. I just don't know which half. This was said by one of marketing's first pioneers, complaining that he couldn't tell if his catalog ads were making his money. Fast forward to 2025, with all the advances in digital marketing and data, and digital marketers still have the same challenge. This is because cracking the code of attribution requires 4 specific things. If you're missing any one of those 4, you're still going to have an issue with trying to crack the code of attribution. Those 4 challenges are tracking, attributing, analyzing, and then acting. Between iOS, Google Ads, killing third-party cookies, and privacy concerns, you need to be extremely expert in safe, privacy-friendly ways of being able to untangle the customer journey. Along with tracking the customer journey, you have to know if someone's filling out a form on your website or opting in for a coupon, is that a new lead or an existing lead re-engaging? And if someone purchases, is it a new customer or is it a repeat buyer? And what did they buy? Did they buy a cheap one-off item or an expensive recurring subscription item? All these things factor into the tracking aspect. The second complicated piece is around attribution models. If you just attribute by last click, then you're ignoring what got the prospect first interested in your brand or what moved them along through consideration to actually make the purchase. If you use last click from the ad platforms, well, that's just a lot of optimism, because they aren't considering any other platform but their own, and they're only looking at the very last thing that happened before the customer bought. That is just not a way you're going to be able to scale your business acting on that data. How can it be when the customers use multiple channels and take multiple touch points? You can't just look at the last touch point from a biased point of view. Other approaches to attribution credit are to do multi-touch and just spread the credit among all the touch points. The problem with this is it dilutes the signal for where your most impactful marketing is happening. If you have 10 touch points for a sale on a $100 product, everything gets $10 per touch, you're going to find that nothing looks profitable enough to really invest and grow your business. I know, because we had this model at Wicked Reports and then realized it wasn't helping anyone. So we did away with it. The third thing is the analysis. You have to know which attribution models to use based on the right intention for your marketing. You then need to know how many days to include in your analysis, because if it's too tight, you're missing a lot of conversion lag and you're probably killing campaigns too early. And if it's too long, you may be running out of money, going broke, or missing other opportunities because you're staying with losing campaigns too long. So you've got to know the time window. Then you also need to know how much credit to give for each touch point. Is this one worth more or less dollars than the other touch point? So a lot of that factors into play, and you have to have that type of consideration for every campaign. And then you need to look down at the ad level, up to the channel level, throughout your entire portfolio of ad budget allocation. The third leg is the analysis. All those things I mentioned during an attribution, you need to consistently apply them to each campaign methodically and repeatedly. Otherwise, if you're just on a whim, slicing and dicing with no consistency, then you might make inconsistent decisions and then be banging your head against the wall, wondering why you're not getting value from your data. You need to have benchmarks put in place, agreed upon expectations of how you're going to measure things, how long you're going to measure them for, which attribution models make sense for what the goals are of the company and of the particular campaign. And then when things are not going well or going exceedingly well, you got to decide ahead of time what type of budget decisions you're going to make, so you're not making an emotional decision. The final step of acting is the most important. You have this sea of data, you have to track it correctly, then you need to attribute it correctly, then analyze it, then comes the action. You could have 30 different insights from all this work. Which one should you act on? Which one should you ignore? Which things might get better due to the trend, and which are dogs that you need to cut right away? You need to know when you can optimize a campaign that's off the rails and get it back on track, or when you need to kill it, or when a campaign just needs you to drill underneath into the keywords or the ads or the targeting that can refine it rather than throwing all that hard work out the window. So there's a lot of these pieces that need to be nailed, or you are not going to crack the code to attribution.